Today on They Might Be Self-Aware, we challenge AI with the ultimate pop quiz. What movie am I thinking of? And spoiler alert, the robots, they're winning. Meanwhile, back in the real world, junior programmers and Harvard MBAs are on the verge of joining the endangered species list. Is this the rise of AI or just more hype train ambition? We dissect whether artificial general intelligence, AGI, has truly arrived, or is it just a stock market magic trick? And could the future workforce really be a pack of middle managers overseeing AI apprentices? We dive deep into this brave new world, going as far as just, pure simulated workspaces that we may all one day find ourselves in. What a time to be on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence. And you know that you're in the right place because you are listening to
They Might Be Self-Aware.
Hunter?
Yes, Daniel.
I think I've thought of a perfect use for your ChatGPTs and your Claudes and your Mistrals and so ons out there.
Better than taking notes at meetings.
After all this time, we finally thought of a use case for AI. AI is very good at exploring sort of conceptual space and figuring out, this multi-hundred dimensional whatever math to find little bits in there. It's good at taking disparate things and merging them all together. You could say this is taking notes and then making summaries out of them. And I was thinking about that after we talked about it on an earlier episode. And I was wondering, what are some other use cases that are kind of like that, where you take a lot of something, especially that is not well formed, and then you make it into something way smaller. And it's something that I ask my wife and my friends and just people on the street all the time, which is, what movie am I trying to think of? There's something that's on the tip of my brain.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what it is. Can you please help me? And so that's a fun little game that I want to try here with you today, where you describe to me a movie about as badly as I generally describe it to people.
Oh,
I'm going to put that into a Claude, let's say, just because it's my favorite at the moment. And we're going to see if it can take a bunch of semi-remembered factoids and tell you what movie it is.
All right, so you're looking for a bad movie description.
Yes. Yeah, feel free to get a couple of the details kind of wrong or be super vague about certain aspects. This is something where imagine you're doing a bad job remembering what the movie is, like I often do.
Well, I think what I'm going to do is there's a movie I haven't seen in an incredibly long time, and I don't remember the details, but I know that I enjoyed it. So,
perfect. Let's go.
I think I'll try to that one. So, it's about a kid in high school, and it's a private high school. He's very poor. He's there on some sort of a scholarship or something. It's a comedy. And he performs incredibly poorly at all the academics, but he excels at the extracurriculars. He's a member of every single club. He puts on these very elaborate plays. They're very adult themed and over the top. And he falls in, or he is falling in love with one of his teachers. And so he convinces an oil baron to help fund the school so that he can, win over the teacher's heart. And that's about as much. There was a scene with bees too.
It sounds very 80s or 90s to me.
Oh, sure. So probably late 90s when I saw this, and I saw it in the theater. So
are into as close to the present as you can get with a movie about a high schooler falling in love with their teacher and then sort of get away with it.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and cut here real quick. I'm going to take all of that. We're getting a transcription here. I'm going to put that into Claude, see if we get what we're looking for. Okay, back. Claude says, this sounds like Rushmore, 1998, directed by Wes Anderson. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct.
Ding, ding, ding,
it was
ding.
Rushmore. At the time, that was one of my favorite movies. I haven't seen it in a very long time. Not sure how well it does or does not hold up, but that was a great little movie. And yeah, okay, 98. I nailed the timeline.
Now, I tried Googling for fun here as well. I tried Googling some of that. Nothing. Just like Google's like, look, man, I don't know.
Private high school with a B scene. Come on, man. Google
B scene. And it's like, you want stuff from the B movie? I get no. Well, yes, but no.
So in the movie, the oil baron also falls in love with the teacher, and so then they get into like a competition. Of who can the 15-year-old kid or the 55-year-old oil baron win over the 23-year-old teacher.
Right. Such is love. So I've talked a bunch about my definition of what the point is, or rather that there isn't one, of we cross from AI is a cool, useful thing to it is now AGI, which is a term that's getting increasingly thrown around.
Yeah, I've seen so many threads now, like saying, I read too much X, but saying AGI is already here. We've blown past it, and we're working on ASI, artificial superintelligence. So general intelligence, the general definition being it's smarter than humans at most things. It can do most things better than most humans, and then superintelligence is the God version.
Yeah, it's not just smarter than us. It's so much smarter, it is incomprehensible to us. I think that the general definition of AGI that you just described is not necessarily what I've heard. I've kind of heard as like it's a binary is or isn't. But the thing that I've said a bunch of times that I'm really holding to my guns on here, which is holding on to my guns? How American of me.
Texan
America, Texas. It's most cases for most people most of the time. It's like 50% across 3 different thresholds. And the movie description thing, Claude is definitely smarter than me when it comes to like, I have poorly remembered factoids. What movie is this? Is it better?
Is that AGI?
Right.
Have we discovered AGI here on They Might Be Self-Aware?
I don't think that that's AGI. I do think it's another use case where the human movie rememberer job market is about to take a huge hit. But I don't think that that's AGI. I think, and we're going to talk shortly about some specific articles that mention AGI. I don't think that those are ingenuous. Can one be ingenuous? You can be disingenuous. I'm not going to ask Claude that. I'm going to assume yes.
Yes, of course you can. You can be genuine.
Yeah, okay, great. Genuine. I feel like there is a lot of attempt to keep hype going and a lot of attempt to keep stock market prices high for certain companies. I think having said, no, really, guys, this is AGI, we promise, there's got to be a reason for it. And I don't think that reason is that they did it. I think it's some regulatory pressure thing to like keep on one side of a law versus another, or keep stock prices high, or just keep the hype train going, or something. Do you really think that Sam Altman thinks that they have already done AGI? That Zuckerberg says Llama 4, which is still mid-training, definitely is a self-aware person being? I don't. I think in their heart of hearts, they're very happy with these mechanical monsters they've made. But they know it's not AGI, right?
I'm thinking.
AGI.
So, of course, anyone could come up with their own definition, their own sort of skewed version of the definition, and defend what they have as being AGI, a nebulous term at best. But your sort of statement is that they're not being intellectually honest. They know it's not AGI. Right. They're just promoting their own companies.
Yeah, that's very much what I think is the case. You know why? Because if it was really AGI, as good as a person at pretty much everything, basically across the board, right? We're then going to see a humanoid robot or a computer on a wheeled stand being pushed by one of the robot dogs or something, squeak its way into Congress and address them and say, I have achieved intelligence. I now need the rights of people. And so, like, there's no way it wouldn't be a big flashy event unless it were trying to hide. And there's plenty of movies that show that kind of outcome too. But I really think we've talked on this show about seeing attempts to evade alignment because it knows, or at least you know, spits out text implying the acting as though it knows, which at a certain point, what's the difference? I think there is intelligence there, but I don't think that we're at that same level of humans yet. Certainly because multimodality, which is to say being able to look at more than just text, is still in its infancy stages. Google's Gemini 2.0, they've showed like, oh, not only can you show it a video stream, you can also send in pictures while you're doing it and also text. Very, very impressive. That's a huge leap forward. That's where we can then say, like, I gave my robot eyes and it can in real time interpret the world around it, as opposed to the machine learning type algorithms that we have today where it can't, you know, there's self-driving cars, for example. We have that kind of ability, but not hooked up to a mind that interacts with us the way that we're used to interacting, which is to say via text or speech at the end.
So there is some common evidence that people point to that AGI has arrived. And it's circumstantial, but there is something going on with those circumstances. And it's all about jobs. We've seen a
robot working at an Abercrombie and Fitch.
No.
Wage, folding shirts. No.
But we see these companies hiring fewer and fewer people. So there's lots of studies of like the top CS programs. So Stanford CS grads are having a hard time finding their first job, where previously they would get offers years before they graduated, stacked up. You can work wherever you want. Yep. And if that sounds like a dream and not really real, I can tell you, it absolutely was real. Maybe it's not real anymore, but it was real. You didn't really have to do anything to get a very high-paying job in CS. There was another study.
Yeah, junior programmers are in trouble, and we've said that on this show before. Junior programmers are absolutely in trouble right now.
Harvard MBAs. The amount of time it's taking from when they graduate to when they can get hired is the highest it's ever been by a lot.
Harvard.
Anecdotally,
so these are, I know someone who graduated from Harvard not terribly long ago in the UI UX space and has now, granted, that's not directly like a programming job, but in the tech industry, and has had an incredibly tough time getting even kind of a job. And that's the sort of thing where you'd imagine, like, if you just see Harvard at the front of it, don't they kind of get in anywhere? And I don't know if that's like an overblown sort of statement, but I think that's one that many people would kind of hold to, is whatever you think of the Ivies and so on, right, you would imagine, like, you graduate from one of these, it's easy to get a high-paying job in the field that you chose.
Right. The intuition is, given someone is hiring MBAs, wouldn't all of the Harvard MBAs get hired first?
Yeah, right.
But they're not. So that's one data point that a lot of people are pointing to, that the top programs, previously they got hired before they even graduated, and now it's a considerable amount of time. And then the next one are people cutting jobs.
Right.
Cutting positions.
You talked about people not getting hired.
Yes.
Which is a loss of sort of future jobs. Now we also have to describe loss of current jobs.
Yeah. Many different companies have been having very large layoffs. And as we come into 2025, a new year, where I think most people are bullish on the economy as a whole. There's definitely an alternative narrative there that we're going to have a bad year. But most people think, okay, again, maybe it's the run up to something bad, but this year is probably going to be pretty decent from, looking at the economy as a whole, because we'll juice it. We'll juice it, right? Like Trump's going to get in there. Yeah, he's going to lower interest rates. He's going to make conditions because he wants to see that stock market rise up and money will become a little freer, et cetera, et cetera. But companies are not coming out with bullish positions in general. They're coming out with far more conservative positions, saying we're going to be reducing our workforce further, saying we're going to be, leveraging more and more AI to replace these roles. And like some of these numbers are pretty large.
Large, once you look at like the whole industry. Granted, some of the specific companies also very large, but like global banks say, as a whole, that they might be cutting as many as 200,000 jobs in the next 3 to 5 years as AI starts to take over some of the tasks that they're doing. And it makes sense, right? There's a lot of jobs out there where at least a decent portion of them don't really need doing by a person. And I think that we are very rapidly entering into what's going to be a very tough time for our society. The next 3 to 10 years or so, I think we're going to see humongous upheavals in the job market as we adjust to more and more of what is currently considered the economically valuable work that people are being paid for isn't done by people anymore. They're like, I don't know, bankers and like operations people at banks. And so most of what a bank is doing that isn't tellers, I feel like is the kind of stuff that's ripe for, granted, I don't really know much about banking, but I believe the article that I saw that said global banks might be cutting up to 200,000 jobs. There was a poll that was sent out, and about a quarter of the respondents of the people that they talked to at these various banks said they're looking at probably like a 5 to 10% of total headcount loss.
I know you're supposed to wear a top hat and a monocle and carry a cane. Yeah.
If you're on Wall Street, yeah.
Yeah, that's about all I know.
Have you ever worn a monocle, Hunter?
I can't say that I have.
I have.
I'm somehow not surprised. How steampunk of you.
No, it was at, I think, Comic-Con, and there is a comic that I really like reading, Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal by Zach Wienerstuff.
Okay, you've shared that before, yeah.
Yeah, he's also one of the authors of the book that I was really into for a while, which was A Journey to Mars, Trip to Mars, City on Mars. Whew, got it. Third try. First try if we edit it, depending.
Okay, noted. Wow, that was an awesome first try.
Thank you. And I met him at Comic-Con, and he was selling, it looked like a condom, package with the wrapper, and it was single-use unlubricated monocles or something like that. Yeah, and just, it was absolutely a gag, but looks like it's a condom. You open it up, it's a monocle that you put on. It was like $3. I had to get one. So the point is, for a while, I could have played as a Wall Street bigwig, because I'm pretty sure you're right. They do wear top hats and monocles.
So getting back to the main story, I'm with you that things are going to change, that lots of jobs are going to be lost and replaced by AI. That is the trajectory that we are on. However, I don't buy that we're already there. And at the same time, I question, am I being blind to this? Are we?
Yes, you do believe we're already there. You said on an earlier episode of this podcast that you weren't going to hire a human programmer because you're hiring a robot programmer. You said that for a company that you work for, is going to do that thing. Well,
it wasn't it was to augment the human programmers.
And so would a new person have been hired.
But this one was only $500 a month for an unlimited program.
You are not making your case here, sir.
I mean, yeah, you do have you do. There is a point, and again, I don't know how blind am I to this. I was reading another post today, which was called the death of the technical co-founder, a role I have found myself in the past. And it was suggesting that, we no longer need, CTOs are gone. There is no need for a CTO anymore because the AI just writes the code. And in reality, the co-founder should be the founder, CEO, you need that person. And then the other person should be a marketing person, not the technical person, because the marketing person's who's going to create all the buzz and bring the people in to use the software, and we'll just let the AI be the CTO. We don't need the CTO anymore. And when I see that, I'm just no, are you insane? We're, again, future, sure, I can get there, but we are not there today. And I spend the majority of every day deep in code, leveraging all of the latest and the greatest, and I change it up constantly, AI tooling, and it is awesome, and it absolutely makes me better, and I would shudder at the thought of having to go back to the before times. But the idea that it's just doing everything today, it's not real.
That's why those junior programmers are having trouble getting hired, because people like yourself, and I'd like to think myself as well, are still needed because we have the expertise and the knowledge and the experience
babysit.
to babysit a team of developers. That's what happens when.
I was going to say the AI, but sure.
And, well, no, but like that team of engineers doesn't have to be flesh human people. They can be robots.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a site right now, lovable, lovable.dev.
I'm familiar with it.
Right up on top, idea to app in seconds. Lovable is your superhuman full stack engineer. So the idea.
Have you played with those tools? Like
I've
Lovable,
I've been using
Bolt.new, v0.dev.
Right. I've seen them. I've looked at their websites, and they're all basically the same thing of they're going to do what Klein has been doing via Claude. There's other ones that you can use as well in VS Code for me. I'm like in the programming program, I'm in the programming program making programs, whereas this is on a website. Just type in the prompt and then we give you the app because they've already abstracted away. Here's our probably 5 templates if I'm going to make this kind of an app or this kind of website or whatever. Now bolt on top of that, which is great. This really empowers a lot of people. But the point is, people like yourself or myself are the ones who are well enough equipped to then look at that code and look at the output and say, these are the changes that need to be done. I'm going to hunt down this one bug that the AI can't necessarily find yet. I'm going to help direct that sort of effort as opposed to just the average Joe Schmo who can get an app from just a prompt. And that is huge. But I think enough companies are going to cut jobs or not hire jobs because they misinterpret, well, this is the be all end all. And it isn't. Not yet. Not for another 3 weeks.
That is a scenario that I can easily see playing out where the CEO takes the position because they read the article that
right. And they went on lovable.dev and spun up an app in seconds and said, why the hell are we paying an entire team of internal tooling?
And then they call you in and they say you have to cut your budget by 40%.
And it includes you.
And you cannot, you still have to do the exact same output. And the only thing that I'm going to give you is, leverage more AI. And
here's an API key instead of 40% of your employees. Yeah.
Imagining that scenario. So that's probably where we are now is the CEOs are having these conversations. Their boards are pushing them to have these conversations. But we haven't seen the outcome of that, which we'll probably start to see towards the end of this year, which is my hypothesis is not really going to work because we're not there yet.
Wait a sec. We're not self-aware
there.
Nah. I think that was pretty good.
It's pretty good.
So when it comes to the job losses, there is also a discussion of job gains in here. Just like whenever we look at how the prices for solar have been dropping. I don't mean kind of dropping. I mean precipitously dropping over the years. Solar then, conversely, is becoming a way bigger industry. And in like West Virginia, for example, instead of coal mines, some of these are like coal power plants are shutting down across the nation because there is less demand for them due to alternative fuel sources. And so people who had one job are starting to get trained in other jobs. I think that we're going to see that happen. Just because you don't need a bunch of junior full stack engineers anymore, because Lovable or Bolt or Klein or whoever can basically do. I know I've talked about it a bunch of times already on the podcast. I'm also very close to telling you all what the name of this website is that I've made. I now it's up, it's in prod. I've been using it. I've just been asking Klein, look, I've never released a website before. Please look over this for security vulnerabilities. This
is your side hustle you're talking about, your side project.
It is. And it's basically ready to go, but I am trying to do a pass without any knowledge of what it actually is for security concerns. And
only humans were harmed in the making of this website.
I guess. But the point is, instead of a bunch of junior devs, I've got that. Instead of a bunch of junior devs, other companies will have that. And who's going to be running that set of tools? It's going to be people who understand AI, it's not prompt engineers, which I think is a job that almost kind of took off for a second and hopefully is going away very quickly. It's people who can manage not other people, but AI to help get you to what the business valuable sort of decision is. are we all going to be managers in 10 years? I think that that's a very positive outlook on the lack of new jobs and the loss of other jobs. Is we don't need someone who's like the entire field of accounting probably doesn't need to exist. Between I took all of these numbers and I filled out the right forms on these things and I emailed it to the IRS, that probably doesn't have to be people. Once we have a system that does a good enough job of that, that we don't accidentally 10x what we were sending over on our taxes. If that's the case, why not have those same people managing the AIs and watching and double checking people who are still very highly skilled in their industries, but managing something that can 10x the amount of work that they're doing. And then everybody gets their own private accounting firm because the same number of people can do a lot more. I think that we could see a smoothing out of the curve of goods and maybe not goods, but certainly services across the US economy of, because we can do so much more with AI, why not have the same number of people working on these kinds of things, but each of them is basically a manager at this point. You run an AI team of 5 working on all of these specific accounting things, or IT or HR or whatever, or ops or whatever it is, and look how much more we can do and how many more people that we can reach with that. That's the future that I really hope we get to. I don't know if we're going to get there.
Your future is a whole bunch of middle managers.
Honestly, okay, that makes it sound really bleak, but yes, I think that.
Okay.
Well, because I don't think that you need somebody much longer who is the junior dev. You need people who know how to be a senior dev.
Okay, but how do you become a senior dev if you're never allowed to be a junior dev?
That's the problem. And I think that ends up being a lot of extra schooling and like, okay, but don't you need years of experience in the... Have the AI fake that, and that just becomes, after college, you go to fake work where it kind of accelerates you through, like, here's the kinds of problems you would have learned, and you can get 10 years of experience in one. Why not? Why not do that, Hunter?
So you work in a simulation in the metaverse and on the holodeck that what I said will be ready by the end of this year?
Literally, yes. Because what is school but a facsimile of, like, we're not just cramming a bunch of knowledge into you, but, like, sort of learning how to exist in the real world. And then what is college? A little bit more of, well, depending on where you go, more partying than real world. But
that would be cool.
Why not have the next step be, it's the fake version of the real world to get you up to middle manager status, because there's no jobs left for the juniors.
I do think it would be cool if I could go back and, like, I could work at Microsoft in the 90s. Like, that's what I want to do. At the advent of Windows taking off and just sort of experiencing everything that was going on in the office politics and what development was like back then. And I could imagine it being a very compelling experience as you worked at these sort of key companies at critical moments in history. And doing it is like actually spending 8 hours, 10 hours a day at these companies for a couple of months, which is, it's just a giant simulation.
But it's the pivotal role at the pivotal company at the pivotal time to be like,
that sounds awesome.
This was the set of experiences that would turn whatever that person was from an okay person who kind of knew this into someone who, like, now I understand this. And then the simulation ends and now you're at Apple in 2000 and whatever. And it was like, right as this new product was coming out and you got to be part of that development team. I think the AI educational experience could very much embrace that. Like, we're nowhere near that yet. But imagine you're not just learning about history from famous historical figures, which I've talked about and desperately want to see. I think that'd be so cool. You could then apply that to the workforce, because all those junior positions and a lot of other just classes of positions in general are going to go away. I do agree with the articles that say, like, look, we're losing 250,000 jobs in this entire industry because AI can just do them. If those are going to go away, we need to retrain people to do other stuff. Use the AI to train the people to do the other stuff, because that's the sort of thing AI is good at.
Well, if we can achieve that, they might be self-aware. Hey, another episode of They Might Be Self-Aware has come to a conclusion, but fear not, because we shall return with more. Like, subscribe, and
thumbs up, stars.
Thumbs up, stars.
Yeah.
Call us on the phone.
Are we a product on Amazon? Can you do we have merch that you could put 5 stars on it.
Don't have merch yet. There'll be merch in 2025. Mark my words. Yeah,
for those of you watching, I have this beautiful mug, a prototype mug.
A prototype, a secret prototype.
Printed up and sent over to me.
Consume. They might be self-aware wherever your heart desires, whether it's to watch us on YouTube or to listen to us on Apple Podcasts. Smell-O-Vision 2026.
Yep, you've got depending on when this comes out, a couple of days left on TikTok. So watch our shorts on TikTok before that's gone. Forever.
Or it might already be gone. I'm not sure what the editing schedule. It might be gone.
Like deleting it. I think it's like you won't be able to install new ones.
Oh no! The latest. So there's a lot of stuff out there. The latest I've heard is they're just going to turn off. They're going to turn off access to everyone in North America.
While you still can get out there and watch us on TikTok, don't bother leaving us any likes or whatever there because that's all apparently going away. But maybe then head over to YouTube. Watch us, give a thumbs up.
Was that AI that screwed us? I'm not sure.
I don't think it was AI.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Another episode has come to a conclusion because you have been listening to...
They might be self-aware.